This is Optimal Finance Daily, Episode 17, 10 Ideas for Living a Life Without Credit or Debt by Babauta of Zen Habits.net.
Get ready to maximize your potential with Optimal Finance Daily, the podcast that brings you the best content in personal finance 5 days a week. Your optimal life awaits. Now here's your host, Dan Warren.
Hello and welcome to Optimal Finance Daily, where I read to you from some of the best personal finance blogs on the planet. And today I have a post from Babauta of Zen Habits.net. Now, Leo is an accomplished guy in a lot of different areas. Of course, personal finance, as you would expect, but also fitness. He's a marathoner. He even ran an ultra marathon. That would be 50 miles, almost twice as much as a regular marathon. Not for me, definitely, so hats off to Leo there. Also, nutrition. He's very accomplished in that area. He's a best-selling author as well, and you can read about the path that he took to get where he is today at zenhabits.net/my-story. That's zenhabits.net/my-story. And as with most successful people, it is a story very much worth checking out. Now, if you didn't know, this podcast is actually a spin-off of Optimal Living Daily, which focuses on a bunch of different areas, including personal finance, but also personal development and more. And this week, to celebrate the show's 100th episode, Justin, the host over at Optimal Living Daily, is having the actual authors read their own content to you. So it's very cool to hear and worth checking out. You can finally find out what some of these authors sound like. So after this show, just do a quick search for Optimal Living Daily and make sure you subscribe to that show as well. But for now, let's keep it coming with finance and start optimizing your life. 10 Ideas for Living a Life Without Credit or Debt by Babauta of ZenHabits.net. My dad and I were talking about his recent financial turnaround, and one of the things he said was that he loves being free of debt. My dad doesn't have the best of credit, and he isn't wealthy. He has a decent income, an old car that seems to run fine and doesn't belong to a bank, no personal loans or mortgage, he rents, and no credit card debt. Being free of the burden of debt is liberating, he says. Of course, with his credit history, he can't get a car loan on his own or a mortgage, so life isn't perfect. But I advised him, forget about borrowing money, stay debt-free and frugal, and you can bank your income and live a credit-free life. That's not the life for many people, of course, because as with anything, there are trade-offs. Sure, you can live without the burden of debt, but it's harder to travel without a credit card. It's also hard for many people to rent for most of their lives instead of getting a mortgage, and in some areas it's hard to even rent without a good credit history. It's not an issue where I live. However, for my dad, who lives a pretty simple life these days, it could work. Here are some ideas for living a credit-free life, if that appeals to you. If it doesn't, skip this article and don't start a debate in the comments. 1. Save an emergency fund. Many people use their credit cards as a sort of emergency fund. If there's an unexpected expense, the card comes out to the rescue. Instead, use the money you aren't paying towards debt to build up a healthy emergency fund, keeping you out of debt when something unexpected comes up. Living without credit can be risky, so have a strong emergency fund. Aim for $1,000 initially, then build it up to 3 to 6 months or more of expenses. 2. Save for goals. Once you've got the emergency fund adequately covered, you can start saving for other things. Set savings goals for yourself. Do you want to travel, or buy a car, or save for college, or renovate your home, or buy a yacht? Decide on your highest priority goals and set a dollar figure. Now save towards those goals. Without debt, it should be fairly easy. 3. Get a debit card. If you need to use a credit card in certain situations, such as buying something online, often you can use a debit or check card instead if it has the name of a major credit company such as Visa or MasterCard. I went several years without a credit card, but using a MasterCard debit card and had no problems at all. It actually worked every place you would need a credit card, but I wasn't buying stuff on credit. It was debited straight from my checking account, meaning I would need to have the money first before purchasing anything. 4. Earn interest instead of paying it. The problem with debt or credit is that you waste money paying interest. It eats away at your finances. Instead, make your money work for you by investing it. With the magic of compound interest, your investments will grow over time, meaning that money you would have been paying toward interest is now earning interest instead and multiplying. That's good math. 5. buy a car on cash. For those who have been buying vehicles with auto loans all their lives, it may seem impossible to buy a car on cash, but it's very possible, and many people do it. My grandparents, for example, always buy their cars with cash, and always have, except for their first car 50 years ago. So instead of making loan payments and paying double the price of the car or more over the term of the loan, they make savings deposits and end up with the amount it costs to buy 2 cars in their bank account over the course of 5 years. This is something I'm trying to do myself. I'm going to use my current car as long as possible, save the amount that I'm now paying for my loan every month, it's almost paid off now, and then buy my next car in cash. It'll be a used car, but it'll be all mine. 6. Invest for retirement. This is just common sense no matter what your credit or debt situation, but without debt payments, it makes sense to accelerate your retirement investments as one of your savings goals. Then you can retire early, thanks to not being in debt. 7. Travel without credit. It's a common belief that you can't rent a hotel room or a car without a credit card. This is false. It's easy to rent a hotel room, for example, with a cash deposit. You just need to call around to find the right hotels. The same goes with car rentals. 8. Rent without credit. While no credit checks are done for apartments or house rentals on Guam, where I live, in many places a credit check is standard practice. However, there are options you can use to rent without a credit card or a credit check, including a larger deposit. 9. Buy a home without credit. Now, if buying a car on cash seemed impossible, surely buying a home on cash just cannot be done. But it can, and people have done it. I'm even considering doing it myself. First of all, in many cases, renting a home instead of buying and investing the savings is smarter financially. If you can invest the difference and let that grow over time, you can buy a home on cash. And at the same time, you won't pay triple the value of the home, as most people do over the course of a home mortgage due to interest. This item actually deserves a full post on its own, as it requires a longer explanation, but I don't feel qualified to write it. Suffice it to say that it can be done and has been done. 10. Use PayPal online. I'm not a big fan of online shopping. Well, actually, I love to shop online, but I think it's bad for your finances only because it's so easy to do so. You end up buying stuff online that you might have resisted in the real world. But if you must buy something online and don't want to get a credit card or a debit card, in many cases it can be done with PayPal, meaning that you have to have the money before you make the purchase. I've heard of people who don't like PayPal, but I haven't had a problem so far. You just listened to the post titled 10 Ideas for Living a Life Without Credit or Debt by Leo Babauta of Zen Habits.net. Let us know what you thought of that post and what you think of the author. Come visit oldpodcast.com and share your thoughts. There you can also share topic requests for future shows with us as well. And if you enjoyed the show, you can show your support for free by joining our weekly newsletter. You'll not only get entered to win a book every single month, but also you'll get free spreadsheets that can help you with your personal finances and your household budgeting from Justin over at the Optimal Living Daily podcast. So to join, text the word financial to 44222. That's the word financial to 44222. Or you can visit oldpodcast.com and sign up for the newsletter there. It's a great way to show your support and to keep this podcast going. We very much appreciate it. And that's it for episode 17 of Optimal Finance Daily. I will see you tomorrow when I'll be reading a post that talks about making peace with your own financial situation. I'll see you there where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this podcast, but also Optimal Living Daily, the show where I read to you from even more blogs covering finance, productivity, minimalism, personal development, and more from amazing bloggers like Derek Sivers, Zen Habits, The Minimalists, and all the ones you hear on this show too. So if you enjoyed today's episode and like taking amazing blogs on the go, come on over to Optimal Living Daily and subscribe to that one too. And together, we'll start optimizing your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Finance Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's oldpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.